Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Baptized&Clueless. I'm your host, Yusuf. I'm joined here with my co-host, Michelle Edie. Michelle, how are you doing today?
Ooh, ooh, feeling wonderful today.
Love the oot oot. Wesley, how are you doing today, brother?
Man, mentally preparing myself for the day, but I'm just pushing forward.
I hear that. I hear that. I'm glad that you have the day to push forward in. So,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Today, as I gave a heads up beforehand, we're going to talk about God's grace
hmm
and just how abundant it is. So today's title is "His Grace is Not Permission for Us to Sin."
Yeah.
And this is something that's for everybody. This is not one particular person can say they're exempt from this.
hmm
Basically, we know God's grace is abundance, and I think the fact that we know it's abundance and we accept the fact that His grace is abundance, we get a little too comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, when we offend somebody, we know half the time sorry doesn't cut it.
Right.
It's like we go over and above to know how sorry we are.
Yeah.
hmm
But we know God's grace is so huge that
Mm.
we go just as far when we just do something
True.
that's offensive to God's word, to His rule. I mean,
Mm.
I'm sure we don't just go with sorry, but
Oh, yeah.
God's not just asking for your sorry; He's asking for your repentance.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've all been seasoned. That's what repent means, to turn away or turn from.
Mm-hmm.
And when you turn away from something, that means you're not bound to go repeat it, at least not intentionally.
Yeah.
Why do you guys think we take God's grace for granted?
Yeah. Well,
Besides the fact
yeah.
that we're horrible sinners. What else? What else is it making these, like, personally for yourself at least, or what you've seen around you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, I feel like, we can't really, like, we get too complacent sometimes. And I feel like when we're in positions in our lives that, where life gets hard or stuff like that, we get stressed or stuff like that, we, you know, tend to feel like we can get away with it because we know that God's grace covers us, and because God's not like
Yeah.
striking lightning on us right away or
Yeah,
striking us dead right then and there, you know, we feel like we can get away with certain things.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah, true.
I know for a lot of us, we feel like, you know, we don't have to do this sin, but we can do this sin. This sin is not really hurtful, not really,
Sin selection.
yeah, basically sin selection. It's like, making this one sin, like, oh yeah, I'm staying away from that.
Right.
But I'll get away with
Yeah.
I'll get away with this. I could get away with this. This is not really hurting anybody. But really it is hurting you and it's hurting God.
100%.
Yeah.
It's hurting you. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, you have any take on it?
I was wondering which page of my list that you want me to start on.
Jump right in.
Page 84 of 2,963.
Man.
Let's see.
Oh my gosh. I was actively thinking about this recently because I went through a season in the last few months of being very intentional and fasting and really spending a lot of time with God with a level of intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out of that season, broke fast, and was like, all right, hey, everything that I had just been so diligent about
Yeah.
went out the window.
Yeah.
Whether it be from the way that I consume, and when I say consumption, it's not just food. When I'm talking about fasting, it's like media, it's idleness, it's distractions, it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
I had such a level of intentionality with prayer, my prayer life during that fasting period. And afterwards, I was like, even my basic praying at night wasn't as consistent as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I also appreciate that stark contrast in those seasons to really recognize where I naturally fall short.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so needed.
But yeah, because we be sinning, like we know that we be sinning, but when you actually are being so intentional to like really walk in obedience, and then now it's like, okay, free to go. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you need to go wild out and go on the other side, but it's really about, having that moment to recognize what was unnatural for me before this period of intentionality. What have I reverted right back to after this period of intentionality? Where are those gaps? So it's like, I see how much grace I give myself unnecessarily with God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is a fact.
I don't deserve to be doing. I don't deserve the grace that He gives, but I
Exactly.
take full advantage of it and recognize
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it.
No, you're so true. It's when
All
Wes
I
was
think about
talking,
is our kids, like kids being
I was
being
just about
like,
to say that. Just about to say that. Just about to say that. It's like
yeah.
compared to a child.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the way
Mhm.
we act or what we can get away with, we feel it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We get caught,
Yeah.
we're like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
You won't do it again until what, the next episode. I think that's what we forget.
Right.
What we say we're not going to do again,
Yes.
it's not about doing it daily. It's usually that's not how it works. Unless it's, well, particular things I'm
No.
sure we do daily. But for the most part, it's like when that opportunity
Right.
comes back up again, will you say no to your flesh at this
Yes.
time?
Mm-hmm.
Will you
Yeah.
course correct? Yeah. Will you course correct?
Or will you be like, well, you know what? I know afterwards, because I know I've done that in the past, like heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, I
Yes.
should do this, but I'm going to do it anyways. 10 minutes later, the guilt and shame. I'm like, you know what, Lord?
Right.
Like, what if you just, I've heard of stories where people say they couldn't feel God's presence in
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yes.
So they can just, when you turn around and be like, all right, Lord, I
Oh,
know I slipped up, and you feel like nothing. Like, hello? Are you there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I know
Mm-hmm.
biblically it says
It,
God's always there with you, but some people just felt the void. I don't want that.
it's funny because even as an adult, I had to really check myself and relate myself to my own kids. I have a saying that I've said to my kids for years, and I always talk about integrity. Like, when mommy's back is turned, will you do what it is that you know is correct and right when my back is turned,
Yeah,
just because you know it's good and right for yourself and not because you're trying to please me?
right,
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to say it as a parent to children because it's like that's like the expectation
right.
of the interaction, of that connection, of that relationship. And then we all of a sudden put ourselves in an exemption with God. Like, oh, yeah, we know that that's the same concept between us and God, where it's like God is saying, will you have integrity? When you're not sitting in on your knees praying to me and consecrating yourself and being in reverence to me, as soon as you walk away from that moment, will you operate in integrity? Will you do what is correct, what is right, because it is good and right for you, child? Or will you feel that, well, God's grace is sufficient for me, so I'm just gonna do it and He's gonna forgive me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's a heart check, man.
It really
it
is.
is. And hearing you say that, Michelle, it's like coming from someone like myself where I don't like to be played. I don't like people trying to play me.
Yeah,
I don't like to be taken for
yeah,
granted or taken advantage of. Yet I do
Mm-hmm.
this with the Lord on a
yeah.
regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Even if it's once a year, you only done it. You're not 2 years old.
Exactly.
You've done it multiple times. Even if it was that one year. We're not doing it one a year. We're doing it like once a week, once a day, once a
Right.
month.
Yeah. Yeah.
It turns out to forgive us. Jeez.
Mm-hmm. And
Every single time.
and here's the great thing about God is like, of course, like we know that His grace is unlimited, and even though His grace is unlimited, and He knows that a lot of us will will still go out and do whatever it is that we want to do.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
He still decides to show us that grace,
Yeah.
and because that's why He sent Jesus.
Yeah.
because he knew we wouldn't be able to get it right without Jesus.
Yep.
And so,
Mhm.
when he looks at us, he sees his son. So that's the main reason why, his grace is sufficient for us.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I was
Mhm.
just thinking when you're talking for a bit there, I was just thinking the way we treat his grace is just, it's really ridiculous. But we continue with sinning as if it's nothing. So there's a part in Romans chapter 6 verse 1, and it says, what shall we say then? Shall we go on sinning so that grace may increase?
Mm,
And the idea with that is pretty much what you're talking about. Like, people know that his grace is going to be there.
yeah.
So it's like, so to continue receiving his grace, you're going to continue sinning.
Mm,
You're supposed to live in his grace and
yeah.
sin no more. And as I say, sin no more, it reminds you of the other part of the Bible, the woman who's the adulterer.
Yeah.
And of course, the townspeople, like, this is where they got their Frankenstein story from, where they come with the pitchforks and torches. Because people in the Bible were just always out for blood. And
Mm,
and now I think about it, like, were they more upset that she was an adulteress or that they didn't get with her? Like, what was
mm,
going on? And they all surround her, bring it to Jesus.
It's the latter for sure.
Yeah, bring it
mm,
to Jesus, and it's like, this one's adulteress, doesn't know we should stone her. And of course, Jesus has to set them straight. And Jesus pretty much straight up asked her. This is John 8, verses 10 to 11.
mm,
And Jesus straightened up and asked her, woman, where are they? Because he told them, for anyone who has not sinned, cast the first stone.
yeah.
And fortunately enough, their hearts weren't so hard that they actually dispersed.
Mm,
And at that point, he asked her, pretty much, where are your condemners? And she said, has no one condemned you? And she says, no one, sir. Then neither do I condemn you. Jesus
yeah.
declared, go now and leave your life of sin, which is pretty much where the line of, depending on what version you read, go and sin no more.
Yeah.
And it's not that Jesus is saying, oh, well, from this point, don't do anything wrong again. But it's like, this particular sin that you're here for, that you're coming to in repentance of,
Mm,
don't repeat this one.
yeah.
And that's what people don't seem to focus on. It's like, you get if you got forgiven for robbing a bank. Let's say they say, no, it's your first time offense. We're gonna give you probation. You didn't get far anyways. You came to the bank, your gun dropped, and you screwed the whole attempt. So we're just gonna go light with you. If they catch you back there again next week or next year, pulling the
Mm,
same thing, doesn't matter how far you got. They're gonna teach you a lesson this time.
mm,
God doesn't teach a lesson when you come back and repeat the same sin. And I think that's what it is. Like you said, we don't get hit by lightning.
mm,
But that's because we think, you were saying earlier, that God's grace is unlimited. We act as though our time here is unlimited.
yeah.
True.
The two are not parallel.
Yeah. Yeah.
His abundance of grace doesn't mean it can't stop one day.
Mm-hmm.
It obviously does have limitations. We've never seen it. We've heard of it. What
Yes.
Lucifer did? Limitations. Like, no, there's no grace for that. You got to go.
Mm-hmm.
One third the angels that agreed them, y'all got to go. There was no I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done. Nope.
Right.
But he's grace is something that we haven't seen it yet, and we gotta stop pushing our luck with that. Well, I shouldn't say
Mm-hmm.
luck. Stop pushing our face with that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's the hard part. Our time here is not unlimited. And we keep
Yeah.
going like we have tomorrow's guaranteed. That's why he's telling us tomorrow's not guaranteed. Tomorrow's not promised.
Right.
It goes for a lot of things. Like, do what
I
you're supposed to do today. Go ahead.
no, I think when you're saying that, it reminds me sometimes of the fact that sin is sometimes so easy, but it's not because sin is actually easy. It's because it doesn't always look as stark as we think it's going to. It
Right.
starts off usually small and it kind of avalanches into something worse. It could be um it could be the most obvious one. I say obvious one because I think we had this discussion very recently and we talk about, and it's something that we face often. It's just lust. It could start with something small, just
Yeah.
um a thought towards a person, and then now it just escalates into like consistent, repeated patterns. And then even something, but the other side of it too is I was looking up before we had this conversation. I was just looking up online and kind of looking at public opinions on sin and just what people generally talk about sin and looking like.
Mhm.
And I had this write up that said sin is rebellion. It's disobedience or lawlessness against God, and it can be either. This was the big part for me. It can be either commissioned, which is doing what is wrong, or it can be through omission, which is failing to do what is right. And I feel like sometimes in our life, a lot of our sin is through omission.
Yes. Yes.
But failing to do what is right. We're not necessarily doing bad things. So like, for example, the first example I used, which was lust. If I'm in a lustful thought, the lustful thought is not the problem. What I do with it is.
That's right.
The lustful thought is the basis for the problem, but what am I going to do? Am I going to do something about this, or am I just going to omit doing what is right?
That's right.
Because the lustful thought is there. But did I turn to Jesus and say, I'm dealing with these thoughts again?
Yeah.
And submit just a moment. Like, in that moment, do I sit down and just find a quiet space for, it could be exactly 2 minutes of your life.
Yeah.
You could be in the most public space. You go take 2 minutes of your life and you say, God, I'm facing lust again. I'm coming before you right now, God. Place this in your hand. I ask for your strength, Father God. I do not have the strength alone to get through this moment or through this instant or through these circumstances that I've been through before. And I'm looking to lean on you, God. I need to surrender this to you.
Yeah.
And the more frequently we can do that, it supports us in moving away from that sin.
That's right.
But because it's just a moment of omission now, it's like, okay, I did it, but now I'm just not going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we think we're so great that we can handle this on our own?
We need some lightning.
Mhm.
Sometimes. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's like sometimes, that's why God allows us to make our decisions, and He allows us to fall on our face.
Yeah.
Right.
And only those who have the nerve to talk about, Lord, why are you doing this to me? It's like, well, the Lord didn't tell you to go through that door. Didn't tell you to make a phone call. Didn't tell you to step in the car and cuss that person. And now because now the repercussions have come quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a problem with control, and that's one of the fruits of the spirits, right? Self-control.
Yeah.
We don't display it enough, and we don't build that muscle as you're talking about, Michelle, of practicing to not omit. Like, do what you're supposed to do in that moment. This is taking place, but what are you supposed to do? Sometimes it's as simple as stepping away from whatever it is, and you don't end up sinning because you just removed yourself from it. I mean, Jesus removed himself from crowds all the time. Blessed 500 people and just slipped out without making, like those people who go to parties and they always got to make sure everyone knows that they came and left. Jesus slipped out quietly, like, okay, I had you people, I gotta go. And when every time he slipped away, he went to go be with the Father.
Yeah.
Like, these are things that we know we ought to do. And it's like, I don't spend enough time with God as I believe. I don't, so it's part of my own self-conviction that way. And, I'm not going out to go commit this sin. Like, not spending time with God isn't as one of the commandments, as in if you don't do this, da da da. But it is one of the things that in building any relationship, it's common universal law. Spend time with Him, and you spend time with people that you want to get to know better. So when Jesus is gonna meet up with people and be like, "Depart from me, for I do not know you," that's the example that you chose not to spend time with. You went back on Xbox. You went back to Netflix. You spent another half an hour going over more chicken at the dinner table, and you didn't need to. I was saying to pull away, just to give the body a rest, and then later on you heard me told you to come and pray, and you didn't do it. Like, those little things. And you're right. We omit a lot of things. We don't even realize it, and we don't make mention of it. We're just looking for the big sin. I didn't punch that person. I didn't steal that car. I didn't go with that other person to bed. Like, it's not that. It's not just those things. Right? Like, maybe we go ahead.
No, I feel like this conversation is honestly, I feel so silent in this conversation. I'm so sorry because I feel like I'm this in this space of like deep reflection
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
of
flashlight.
Mhm.
yes, oh yeah, flashlight.
It's in your eye.
It's not even a flashlight right now. It's like a spotlight. It's like one
Mm,
big old spotlight right now, and
okay,
it's like
nice.
no, you know what? See, being nice sometimes is where the problem with grace comes in, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we're too nice to ourselves about, oh, it's okay. It was just, oh, it's okay. You were just.
Yeah.
I really, deep from the bottom of my heart, as much as it sucks,
Hmm.
I like being very brutal to myself.
Yeah.
Because even when I'm brutal to myself, I still give myself too much grace. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
But
Mhm.
being brutal to myself brings it to the surface enough that I even feel enough guilt to address it properly.
right, right.
Mhm.
Yeah. I've
Mm.
confessed that to Wesley before. I give myself way too much grace.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, Yusuf, you messed up again. Oh well, try better next time, buddy. Let's go.
And Yusuf knows I've been doing that to myself too. Like
Yeah.
just giving
What
myself
does that look
too
like
much
in
grace.
practicality for both of you? For both of you, what does that look like in practicality when you give yourself too much grace? Can you guys give me examples of like your real time life when you catch yourself in a circumstances? What does that grace look like to you in layers?
I could definitely say, like me and Yusuf already know, like the procrastination, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's that
Mm.
procrastination, like holding things off. Like,
Yeah.
oh well, I didn't get it done today. I'll do it tomorrow. And like Yusuf said, like tomorrow's not guaranteed. So it's like, we give ourselves too much grace
Hmm.
on that procrastination, man.
Just on an example alone, we've had discussions where um I know I'm supposed to do something and I'm like, oh man. And then Wesley jumps on and like, it's all right, Yusuf. I'm like, no man, don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're two or three procrastinates, nothing gets done.
Nothing gets done. Yeah.
But that's what it was like in real life, like that whole holding off. Like it doesn't.
Oh my God.
This is why it's like it's necessary for you to surround yourself with people who will not just hold you accountable, but graciously show you, hey, there's a better way.
Yeah.
Here's another option.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, we're talking about God's grace, but we're talking about God's grace initially, but we're now talking about accountability. Let's take a
Mhm.
look at the world that we live in now, the society we live in now, where they don't hold anyone accountable. And those people who are not
Mhm.
held accountable get TV shows.
Mhm.
Yeah, true.
Mhm.
You know, I've never sat down to watch a whole episode, but I've seen enough to know that the whole franchise of the Real Housewives
Mhm.
it's about that unaccountable. Like no one's there, and if they do hold you accountable for something, it's only to yell, and there's no grace. So they're not doing it in the biblical sense. They're not doing it based on how Christ did. They're just doing it because hey,
Right.
this is good ratings, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
If we
Mhm.
held ourselves accountable more, we'd be able to recognize His grace. Like Paul held himself accountable. Peter eventually held himself
Hmm.
accountable. If Peter didn't turn around and hold himself accountable, Peter wouldn't be the Peter that he was. The Peter after Christ, 10 times better than Peter
Hmm.
before Christ.
Yeah.
Well, while
Yeah.
Christ was there, of course, and before Christ was there, yeah, forget that he was just a fisher guy. But after Christ, this
Hmm.
man changed because he realized exactly everything that the Lord said to him was true. He always did believe, but now he had something tangible to attach to. I mean,
Hmm.
you get to witness Christ afterwards, and you do exactly as he says, and you start spreading the word. And that same, funny enough, the same fear that he had while Christ was alive, that same fear
Hmm.
wasn't shown after Christ because he went
Correct.
and his life was in danger. He didn't die a very good death, but he wasn't afraid like he was prior to.
Mhm.
A little girl pointed him out, and he like said, "No." Fully forgot that Christ said, "Hey, you're gonna do this to me." At
Right.
the end of the day, we get a lot of grace from God. We have a personal relationship with God. We walk with Him, or He walks with us. And then when it comes down to it, the thing He asks us not to do, we're going ahead and doing it. And that's like, hey,
Oh,
don't pick up that phone to make that phone call again to that person. Hold your tongue in this
right.
period. Don't do this. Don't do that. And we just forget that His grace is here by His will, not by anything that we do. And we think as though we have full control of it. We don't.
Mhm.
He gives
Right.
it freely. He can also take it away. And because we haven't witnessed him taking it away, we don't think it's possible, but it's very possible because he has done it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He has done
I'm,
it.
I'm curious to know from you guys, what area of your life do you feel that you have the most sin? Where you fall into sin the most?
Thank you for this
And I'm
episode,
asking
everyone.
Yeah.
Stay tuned next week. Why? How about this? How about you lead and let us know so we can get an idea of what you're speaking of? Like,
no problem with letting you know. You know why? Because I'm sitting here, like I said, I feel this conversation is evoking a space in me that I didn't expect it to evoke.
do share.
But it's a very reflective space.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like most of my sin comes from a space of fear.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I say that it's not just like I said, bad things that you're doing. Even the omission part, the omission is really standing out to me. Because I look and I say, okay, if I'm supposed to trust in God and the plan that He has for me,
There you go.
why do I not move in obedience all the time? It's because I'm allowing fear to stop me from moving in obedience at times.
Yeah. Flat.
Yeah.
And if I'm allowing fear to stop me from moving in obedience, which is the thing that God has called me to do, the thing that God is asking me to do, I'm operating in a level of disobedience, all because of fear. And now I'm going against His timing. I'm going against what He has for me. And I feel like most things that I do in my life, that's why I said this episode is evoking things in me I did not anticipate it to evoke, because it's just really making me take that the spotlight and be like, dang girl, this is bubbling to the surface. But why is it bubbling to the surface? Because I always say to my kids, like, if someone says something to you and you feel offended, it's usually because there's a level of truth in there.
Right.
Mm.
There you go.
Mm.
And I'm feeling a little offended right now.
For the big man. No.
I'm feeling a little offended right now because Lord, the grace that I'm giving myself is allowing sin to enter into my daily walk with God, simply from a level of disobedience, procrastination, fear, all of those things.
Yeah.
And you guys mentioned procrastination as well earlier. So I know you guys were perturbed by my question of like what area. You're like,
Well, I'm glad I asked you first because like I could have told a lot on myself. I'm like, wait, let me just temper this first. Where exactly should go with this
maybe I should
question?
get that right too.
This, folks, the show's not pre-rehearsed, so listen.
It's a loaded question, man.
I tread lightly. You know what I'm saying?
I can hear the silence on the podcast just go, oh.
Well, let me see. I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily an area of. Well, I guess that could still call it area of sin. Like I'm right now, I'm going through a season of learning to have grace for others. I find that my old ways of being sharp tongued, like I could, and being blunt, is still there, but I'm understanding that it's not necessarily what people need at that time or how it's being delivered as well. I just had a conversation with a brother sometime this week, and he was going through letting me know, and another brother, what he was going through, and we heard his missteps in the situation, just missteps after missteps, and it's like, problem was that he was in so much hurt that he couldn't take a step back to see that portion of it, and so we just gave him space to hear him out. And parts of me just wanted to be like, yeah, but you, and I just had to hold my tongue and instead like talk around it. And the other brother on the phone with me, who was there to help as well, was able to say things I couldn't say because I didn't have the deliverance that was needed. So I know it's something I need to work on. And
it's powerful.
If that was asked of me just last year, I'm like, what are you talking about? Because
Right.
the thing is, I want people to do with me upfront and blunt. They don't have to try to be rude because I might just verbally get them back. But I like upfront. I really do, because it sets things straight for me to know where I'm at and I don't have to guess and get it wrong.
I feel you.
But just because I like it that way doesn't mean that everyone else likes that way. And that's taken me a long time to come around to say. And so in grace, I got to learn deliverance. Jesus gave me deliverance and grace, so there are two traits I'm learning from him, and I'm learning how to do it in this season, and being aware of how I struggle with it at times. So a lot of it is just holding my tongue, which I could never do before.
Yeah.
If you cracked a
I
joke on
never
me,
noticed that.
listen, if someone cracked a joke on me and they got a couple giggles in the room, oh, you're done. And I would do it. I do it in a way that was like, oh, he's not mad. Oh, I was mad.
Yeah.
And I got in the back with 4 or 5 jokes in a row. Boom, 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 boom. And they weren't prepared for that. They didn't expect that to come out of nowhere. And then, I'd walk off knowing I left them smoking. Smoking pile.
They're like, what just happened to you?
Yeah, pretty much. All I said was, yeah. Yeah, I used to enjoy that way too much. But there you go again, no grace.
Yeah.
So, had that for a long time. So that was something I've been working on this season. So I just say God's working on me.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it was when you first said it, Michelle. When you first acted, I was like, dang, like, which one do I?
Which one do I take? Spin the wheel and just choose.
Yeah. But I would say like one that I'm really like focused on is what we talked about before. The lust. I know that's something that I've been, struggling with for years. And, even with this topic, like I've given myself too much grace when it comes to that. Like I'd be like, oh man, I slipped again.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'll try again next time. And that's basically like me just trying to take advantage of God's grace, even though like we talked about it, like, God's grace is sufficient, but it doesn't give us permission to keep, going in that cycle, And so that's something I know that I've been focusing on. But one thing you also mentioned, Michelle, is the fear. That's another thing that I've come to realize that what's held me back is that fear, and you mentioned it so well, Michelle, when you said that the fear leads us into disobedience because it keeps us stuck and it keeps us afraid to do what God has called us to do. And so, that's another thing that I feel like, God has, allowed me to see, is that, the fear is keeping you from obeying him. And so I think those are two of the things that I see myself like God working in me.
Right.
Yeah.
I thank God for that. I was before you said the fear portion, I was thinking one of the fruits of the spirit that was similar for you, Wesley, would be self-control, because it's something I deal with as well. Because our lack of self-control will lead into the subcategories of procrastination, of desires, of laziness, or whatever case it be. Like it's all in that. It was like, and you notice the difference with people that have discipline. Go out to go do something, man. When those people find God and they're so like disciplined, they're like they eat things up much quicker, much faster.
Oh
and this is not a comparison thing. This is just an observation. Like, you know what? They have self-control under control.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what your issue is. But then you'd be surprised what the issue is, and you're like, really? That's your issue? Everyone has a different struggle. And all those struggles are still being reflected under the same grace. That's the thing. Like, God doesn't care what your sin is. Only man does. Man loves division. Man loves that put things in this different caste systems in any way, shape, or form, because it makes it easier for them to live with their sins and also put the spotlight on other people.
Yeah. And how it says that each day God gives new grace, new mercy. just the very fact that we're able to wake up, and with breath in our lungs, that's God's grace,
It is 100%.
because it's like if you've ever read if you've ever read anything in the Old Testament, like God was not playing in the Old Testament with those
Oh,
people.
he wasn't.
Wow.
He had no time for them.
Yeah, and if you know the story of Moses, like
Yeah.
we all know Moses was kept out of the promised land because of his disobedience
Hmm.
to just speak to the rock. You
Yeah.
know, that's all he had to do was just speak to the rock, but instead he just hit the rock, and because of that, that kept him out of seeing the promised land. And so it's like it's like because of Jesus, like that's why God gives us that grace, and we just go ahead and continue in our sin. And it's like, man, it's like that's why in that verse that you mentioned, Yusuf, in Romans 6 verse 1,
Hmm.
like that's why Paul mentioned that,
Yeah.
because it's like we do that too often in our lives. And it has to come to a point where it's like, are you going to continue in this sin and be like the prodigal son, where you hit rock bottom to the point where you're eating food from the pigs?
Yeah.
Or are you going to come to your senses and be like, okay, God, I know I'm giving myself too much grace. I give this problem to you, and I'm going to just, continue moving forward and do what you have called me to do. So,
Right.
and that's where that decision comes in. That's where that discipline comes in, like you said, Yusuf, you know?
You mentioned the prodigal son and the eating like the pigs, and pretty much when we try and do things on our own, that's what we usually end up doing.
Yeah.
We end up taking the most garbage position, the lowest option, and we
Mhm.
settle for this crap that God had no intention of us having.
Yeah.
That low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Low hanging
Yeah.
fruit has dropped on the ground, has been rotten for the last 12 weeks, and that's what we choose
Dang.
to eat,
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
with some of the decisions that we make. And it's like you have the opportunity to turn away from it. You know it's not something you're supposed to do, and for some reason, I don't know why we allow our flesh to be so loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, have you ever been successful in stopping yourself from doing something, but the
Right.
craving was still there? The
Mm.
wanting to do something, like you, man, I want to cuss this person out, and you hold your tongue from cussing, but you're
Yep.
playing it out in your head. You're mumbling it underneath your breath.
Yes.
You're
You're
still
Mm.
holding on
doing
to
it.
the wrath, the sin of wrath.
Yeah, you're
Mm.
still doing it because the need to let this thing out a little bit is what your flesh
Mm-hmm.
really wanted.
Yeah.
It doesn't care what you say. The
Mm.
disobedience was you need to shut your mouth and not do or say anything about it.
Yeah.
And instead, you
Mhm.
had to let the person know, and that was me.
Mm.
I got to let
Yeah.
you know you can't get one up on me. Uh-uh.
Yep.
Mm. Yeah.
I,
There was no fruit in that.
I think we have to find balance in our sin. I know that sounds kind of crazy to say we have to find balance in our sin,
Cuckoo.
but I think that finding the balance in our sin. Oh, seriously, I think finding the balance in our sin, because when we give ourselves grace, we're talking about giving ourselves grace with sin.
Right.
We are off balanced. When we're giving grace, we are off balance. The level of grace that we're giving ourselves, and the reason why we're staying in sin, is the lack of balance. I
Yeah.
say this because when I look at, like, I know the other day I was looking at, recently I had been looking at like the seven deadly sins, and they'll
Mm.
talk about like lust, gluttony, pride, sloth, wrath, greed, envy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And for me, I know, like, I think we go through seasons. I'm always saying the word seasons because I feel like certain things are more prone in different seasons. My season right now, for sure, in my sin is sloth, because I had such a hard season for so many years prior
Right.
that now it's like I'm 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 burnt out, mentally,
Mm.
spiritually, emotionally, physically. I was burnt out, and I knew that I needed rest. I knew that I needed recovery. Those are good things for us.
Right.
Yeah.
But when did it become too much? When did my scales tip and I was off balance? When that scale tipped, I kept giving myself grace, grace, grace. So you end up falling into this, like, for me, like I said, my sinful season was a season of sloth. It's like, yes, there's things that need to be done. You are here to do God's work for the kingdom.
Yeah.
You need and you deserve and you require rest to recuperate and be able to rejuvenate. God himself, he took a seventh day of
Yeah.
Sabbath. He took a day of rest. But it did not mean that the other days there was not productive work being done for the kingdom,
That's
for
Yeah.
the kingdom,
that's right.
for the kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to check myself on my balance. The fact that you want to give yourself grace and peace and calmness and quiet in terms to recover, yes. But am I so off balance that I'm not doing the kingdom work? Am I
That's
so
it.
focused on my wrath that I am pushing away opportunities for kingdom work because I'm filled with wrath?
Yeah.
Am I so focused on being greedy for, say, money or material things that I'm not doing the right things for the kingdom because they don't necessarily have immediate gratification returns that will feed that materialistic desire in me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the scales. I feel
Yeah.
like we have to really pay attention to our daily scales. How do we check our scales? Like, what can we practically do to check our daily scale to know if we're on point?
I try not to be a Martha. I try to be a Mary.
Mm,
I try and sit enough with God
Mm-hmm.
to hear him. And I know I'm not doing a great job, but I wasn't talking this way last year. I wasn't talking
right.
this way 5 years ago. So something's changing.
Yes, I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you say that, Yusuf, like something's changing, I think that's, that's the thing also about God is that, he, wants to see progression, you know.
Yeah.
When we talk about this topic, his grace is not permission to sin, like I believe if God can see that progression,
Mhm.
like I speak for myself,
Mm,
like on the topic like lust, like if I'm doing things to try and help overcome it, like practical ways to try and help overcome it,
mm.
God can God can appreciate that,
Right.
I love that.
and yeah, God can appreciate that. But if I'm just not doing anything, not confessing my sin to another brother, not doing,
Mhm.
and I'm just continuing that sin, that's where it's like you're taking advantage of God's grace that He gives you
Yeah.
each and every day.
Yeah.
But if He sees that progression, if He sees you taking that one step at a time, and I believe that everyone's steps are different.
Yes.
Some people it might take longer to take that one
Right.
step than others. But if God can see you doing that progression, I think that's what God can appreciate.
Mm,
Just start it. And that's why I believe it was so good with the group that me and Yusuf are in,
yeah.
because that's where we get that accountability to be better.
Right.
And like Yusuf said, how Yusuf said that he wants someone to get at him and, you know, gracefully like keep him accountable, instead of, how I would always be with Yusuf, like, oh, it's okay, Yusuf, it's all right.
Wesley's the worst good friend.
Aw.
I'm like, come on, man. Don't make it
Yeah.
negative, Wesley.
But yeah, good thing Yusuf has other brothers that he could depend but yeah, like that's why I think that's what God can appreciate.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I like to close in saying my favorite scripture,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
2 Corinthians 5:17, and this is just for us because we're talking about change.
Yeah.
Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here,
Mm, right.
Yes.
and we have to allow God to do the changes with us and make sure we don't take what He has given us for granted
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and not only look at the big things, because if we do that, then we're only going to look for the big things of change within us and miss the small
Mm,
things.
Right. Right.
Like something as simple as our conversation has changed from just a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm able to admit this or that about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know I need work here, I need work there. It's not just
Yeah.
about oh, we got a podcast that's making money, or I got a t-shirt business going like this, or I'm being asked to speak at this church. Like, it's not just about those things.
Right.
The changes within us. That's what His grace is for. It's not to
Yeah.
pave our streets with gold for us to walk on this lifetime. It's to change our heart posture and what we decide to do with the time that He's blessed us with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Without that, we're just taking things for granted and taking Him for granted, and I don't want to live like that.
I love
Yeah.
that. I appreciate having this community for conversation. I really
Right.
appreciate that response, Wes, where it's about like that's progression. Over
Mhm.
time, do I see things getting better?
Yeah.
To know if my scales are off balanced or not. Am I giving myself too much grace, or am I
Yeah.
living with the appropriate amount of grace, but still doing the right thing to move forward? I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
This whole conversation was not just for the three of us. It was
Yeah.
it's for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, if we're in the same room, I feel like we'd put our hands in like, go team.
Yeah.
Go team, go.
Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to talk about God's grace is not permission
Mhm.
us to sin. As usual, it's always been enlightening and very insightful talking to two of you.
Yes.
I really appreciate you guys.
Yes.
So, thank you all again for this episode. And join us back next week when we have another topic of great conversation. We appreciate you guys coming out. Everyone have a great one.
Yes. Take care.
Have a good one.